Manchester United have officially signed Marcel Sabitzer. I'm sure it's going to be announced by the club any moment today, and reportedly he could actually start against Forest tonight because obviously McTominay's out injured, Eriksen's out injured, Sabitzer, Casemiro, Fred and Bruno are the only fit midfielders we have, and maybe Kobe Mainoo will play, and surely he'll want to rest one of them for the weekend game as well. Sancho also reportedly starting versus Forest tonight. We will be talking about the Forest game in this video, the lineup that we could potentially see in the Forest game. Obviously, Manchester United getting to the final for the first time. Some news on the transfer. Sabitzer obviously was spotted at Carrington last night doing his medical. He'll be joining up with the Manchester United squad today, and an announcement will be done. Now, I think Sabitzer is a good signing, as I've always said. I think that how he will fit into the United squad is he'll probably play in that Eriksen role. He is kind of brought to be an Eriksen replacement. Him and Fred will probably play next to Casemiro. If worse comes to worse, he has played in that Casemiro role himself, but he's a bit like McTominay in the sense of he's not a 6, but he can play in the 6 role. Although I say he's a bit like McTominay, he's nothing like McTominay because McTominay can't actually play in Eriksen's role or the 6 role. But McTominay's obviously out injured, Eriksen's out injured, Below is out injured. The injury crisis is in full swing at Manchester United, and I am so glad we signed the player. But I have to say, it's so sad that we could have signed Sabitzer 2 weeks ago and had Sabitzer and Eriksen. We could have signed Hassan Uwa, and we could have signed Kamada, all these decent midfielders on loan. We could have got deals done, who we inquired about. But we didn't inquire about it to deadline day when we realised Eriksen was going to be out to April, potentially even May. It just shows that this board has no ambition. They could do something, they just didn't want to. They didn't want to improve us. They didn't go, oh, he's in a good place for top 4. He's in a good place in top 4. Let's give him another midfielder on top of that because we know he's thin even with Eriksen in the squad. No, they didn't think that. And while I like Sabitzer, I think he's a very good Eriksen replacement. I mean, if you look at Sabitzer's passing stats, he's in the 90th percentile for passes, touches, progressive plays, always involved in the game, always gets the ball off the centre-backs, always passes it forward to the attackers and stuff. The only thing is he hasn't been getting the goals and assists as of recent Eriksen gets, but that's because he's not been brilliant at Bayern Munich. But if you saw what he did at Leipzig, he was fantastic. And I think he's very much an Erik Ten Hag player because he's very versatile, and Erik Ten Hag likes very versatile players. I also want to get into some news on the Sabitzer story, kind of what went down, a bit of background news. I also want to get into some news about the summer. In the summer, what United's priorities are, and then we're going to do the lineup for the Forest game. So smash a like, smash a subscribe. Do subscribe down below if you're new. But I thought this was an interesting story, so I do want to start with it. It was said, tired of seeing the club at the mercy of troublemakers and problem players, Arnold had only one I don't know what that means, on transfers to Marta and Ten Hag as part of their moves to reshape the dressing room. No, dickheads. Do not sign me a dickhead. Do not sign me a dickhead. And you know what? Ten Hag's absolutely spot on, because sometimes you can sign top players and they can be a dickhead. We saw so many egos last season in the dressing room, so many dickheads. And Ten Hag is like, what he's built in the dressing room, to get that dressing room back, to gain control, it's madness that he's done that in a couple of months. Obviously it probably helped with the unhappy players going, Bailly went out on loan, Lingard left, Pogba left, probably further helped with Ronaldo leaving, because Ten Hag's sort of strategy and thought process is, if you're not happy, fuck off. Like, if you don't want to be a fuck off, like if you can't accept that you're a bench player, fuck off. And then obviously he brings in Casemiro, who's just a leader and has a positive influence on the dressing room. Eriksen will have a positive influence on the dressing room. He knows Anthony and Alessandro Martinez's attitude from Ajax, their work rate. They're going to have positive influence on the dressing room because they've got the Ajax attitude. And then Tyrell Malacia is one of the youngest, hardest working boys that you ever meet. When we hear in reports that he's like the first to arrive and last to leave training, works hard. And Ten Hag's got that dressing room back. And obviously, there wasn't much that we could do in January, but one of the things that was really important to Ten Hag, it's been said, is that you don't sign a dickhead. And Sabitzer isn't a dickhead. The one thing about Sabitzer is he runs. He's a player that will give his all every game. He runs, he tries, he works hard. And look, it hasn't worked out at Bayern Munich. Maybe he could come to United and stink it up. But we saw what he was capable of at RB Leipzig. He runs a lot, he presses a lot. He's got that kind of Jason Park kind of vibe. He'll definitely, him and Casemiro, I think, definitely work in the midfield together. And I even think him, Casemiro and Bruno could make a good midfield three. Do I think he'll start versus Forest tonight? No. Do I think he could be involved versus Crystal Palace? Yes. I think, I don't know if maybe he can start tonight versus Forest, maybe he can be involved, but I think it's too soon. There's no way Man United would be able to sign a player and then start the next day. Chelsea could, Arsenal could, but Man United Could they? I mean, this would be a good game for him to start, but yeah, I'm glad we got the signing done. I'm glad he's here for depth. But I tell you who might be starting tonight is Jadon Sancho. Now, I want to go through my lineup for the Forest game, like my specific lineup for the Forest game, and then who I think is kind of going to play. So we'll get into that. So we're 3-0 up versus Forest. We want to go to the final, but do I think Forest are going to beat us 3-0? No, especially at home. No. I think for me, we've got the Palace game coming up. We've dropped points in our last 2 Premier League games. It's so important that we get 3 points versus Palace, so I would rest a bit. I would happily play Butland, Heaton in goal. I don't really care. De Gea. It doesn't really matter to me. Right back, I think we're going to have to play Wan-Bissaka because Delo is out injured. We could play Williams there, but I think Ten Hag will play Wan-Bissaka. I think left back again, we can go with Malacia because Luke Shaw will save him for the Palace game and just make sure he's 100% fit. My centre-backs, I would probably play Varane because, although I say that because he hasn't played in a week and he's had a week rest, maybe I'd play Varane and Lindelof. Or I'd play Lindelof for Maguire. I'd give Lisandro Martinez a nice old rest for the Palace game. I'd probably play... honestly, I'd probably play Lindelof and Maguire, to be honest with you. But I think he might play one of Leach or Varane just because actually they've had quite a bit of time off. Casemiro would probably play DM for me. I kind of want to rest him. He did get a rest versus Arsenal, but... you know, McTominay is out injured, and I think it will probably be either Casemiro and Fred, because Fred didn't start the last game, or potentially Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo, if he wants to give Fred a rest for the Palace game, or potentially Casemiro and Sabitzer. But I think Sabitzer could probably play if we sort out some shit quickly. Like, João Felix played within like a day of signing for Chelsea, but you just don't know. I'd probably like to see Casemiro and Sabitzer play together. But if he's planning to start Sabitzer in the Palace game, it might be Casemiro and Fred. We could potentially see Kobe Mainoo. And I think Bruno will play as a 10. My worrying theory is, you know, there's no cover for Bruno. Like, Sabitzer could play there. And I think that's maybe why Ten Hag signed him, because he could play in Bruno's role, he can play in Fred's role, he can play in Eriksen's role. But there's no cover for Bruno. And I think, you know, luckily Bruno's will get injured, but Bruno and Casemiro, we're going to be so reliant on them. And even Fred, but luckily Fred's got that Sabitzer competition. And I think Fred, I have to say, Fred's look really good for United. Now, my front three, if I'm being honest, I would rest Rashford, I'd rest Anthony, they've played a lot. I'd probably go Palestri, Elanga, Garnacho, because I wouldn't start Sancho if he's not played in like 15 weeks, and then bring Sancho on as a sub. I'd probably do that. I'd probably play a young front three. Because I think we're 3-0 up on aggregate to Forest. That team, you know, I know Ten Hag doesn't trust a lot of those players to start. I'm not saying that team is the best, but I'm saying we're at home, we're 3-0 up. That team is Forest shouldn't beat that team 3-0. If you've got a midfield of, let's say, Casemiro and Bruno in there, you've got a little bit of an iffy attack, but you've got a solid defence as well. That Nottingham Forest should not be beating us 3-0. So that would probably be my team for the game. But I'm really excited to see Sancho involved, and it'll be interesting to see. And we'll probably get some news today on if Sabitzer is going to be involved. But obviously he's been to Carrington and all of that. He'll probably be joining up with the squad today and all of that as well, unless United are slow at paperwork, which is what we seem to be. It was said by Manchester United that Man United are convinced that they have signed the best attacking midfield option available on a short-term basis in Sabitzer, to the offset of Christian Eriksen's absence as well. And it was further said by Samuel Luckhurst that United plan to welcome a new goalkeeper, young midfielder and striker in the summer as permanent. So our plan for the summer is goalkeeper, midfielder and striker. I think we'll probably look at David Raya and Diogo Costa. I think midfielders, Enzo Fernandes has gone to Chelsea. I mean, how much money have Chelsea spent? It's going to catch up to them. I really hope that Enzo Fernandes flops and they don't get a top four, because the money they spent is absolutely insane. Midfielder, Enzo's gone. De Jong, Bellingham. Ten Hag would love that. Can't tell if it's going to happen. Maybe we look at Kone, Kakare. I think there's some hidden gems out there in the Bundesliga, French league, even Italian league. Maybe look at Benacar. Potential players there in midfield, and then obviously in attack, Oshinham, Vlahovic, Sesko, Kane, Ivan Toney. Like they are the names that Ten Hag would like. So it'll be interesting to see what we do in the summer. It'll be interesting to see if the Glazers are still here in the summer. I'm sure now we're in February. They said they're taking final bids mid-end of February. We're going to get some real big updates coming in on the new ownership and Glazers and takeover and all of that, which I can't wait for, because I want these owners to adios, because look at the ambition Chelsea have shown this window. Look at the ambition we've shown. We say we've got no money, but we could have done a loan deal all along. We just didn't want to because we've got no ambition. So, you know, I can't wait till these owners are gone, because every other club around us is showing ambition. Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, even Tottenham show more ambition than us. And it's a joke. And I want them gone. But smash a like, smash a subscribe. If we get any updates on new owners, I will be, of course, here to update you guys. I'll be live tonight for Forest versus United watch along, and I'll do a match reaction. See you then. Bye.